Dad, I don't want you to win the Derby again. And we were like, well, why wouldn't you want him to win the Derby? That's like the highlight of a jockey's career. And he's like, well, Dad, you were gone so much after Derby.
Oh,
It's sad. Like he, sacrifices so much to be gone. But like when your son or your kid tells you that
yeah.
you're not here, like it's heartbreaking, but it's like, he's doing
Yeah.
it for them.
Hey, everybody, I'm Lindsay Zarniak, and this is Things No One Tells You. This is a podcast about the behind the scenes moments that shape who we are, those things that also are really relatable and really connect us. So each week, I'm going to talk with newsmakers, trailblazers in the worlds of sports, entertainment, all things, but also everyday folks, people who are talking about the real stuff that no one tends to share. Follow me at Lindsay Zarniak and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review Things No One Tells You wherever you like to listen. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Things No One Tells You, or T-Naughty, as me and my friends like to call it. We think it's catchy. I hope you do too. So today we're talking about things no one tells you about the hectic life of everyone, everywhere, because I know it doesn't matter if you are in the midst of your career journey, if you're not, if you have kids, if you're not, everybody is hectic at this time of the year. It ebbs and it flows. And I don't know about you, but I've been thinking a lot lately about why I'm waking up in the middle of the night being like, oh my gosh, I forgot this. I'm not doing that. For me, it's a lot about this time of year with my kids because school is wrapping. We're also very much in our house still getting used to this new normal of a work shift that has been kind of an adjustment for us. My husband goes to bed very early. That's one thing, but we're also just trying to reframe some of our routines. And especially, that's a great chance, I feel like, as summer's approaching. But also, something I've really been working on is the mantra of don't try to hit the marks and miss the moments. And for me, this is something that I came up with because I love adventure and I love to just do fun things. My mom does this too, and she calls it her woo. We love to make sure that we're celebrating the holidays the right way, that we're, making the milestones matter. And sometimes I think the biggest thing is making sure that you're actually just in the moment. And I have realized that whether it's with my kids, with my husband, but most importantly, honestly, with myself, it's like taking the time to just be present. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes. I always try to do that before my kids get up. That never works, but I'm still trying. So I just think in this season of life, I'm like, let me just try as hard as I can to put the phone away, to be in the moment, and to see how that feels. I've got a little levity for you today. All right, for those of you who follow along on social media, you know that I like to do a joke of the day. It's something that I started during the pandemic because I was honestly trying to get my kids to pay attention when I was going through homeschooling. But the joke today, courtesy of my daughter, why was the chipmunk late for work? Because traffic was nuts. Ha, it's good. It's good. Thank you. Today, my guest, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear from, is known for understanding exactly how to work through traffic on a racehorse. Brian Hernandez, he is the jockey who rode Mystic Dan to victory in the Kentucky Derby, not this past year, but the year before. You guys know I love horse racing. It's something that my dad covered as a journalist. And so when I was brought the opportunity to do that a few years ago, I love everything about it. My favorite time at a racetrack is in the morning. I really love understanding all the different roles in horse racing, whether it's the trainer, the exercise rider, the groom, the farrier who puts the horseshoes on the racehorses, all these things, including the jockeys. And I've really been fascinated by what that lifestyle is like. Netflix recently did a show called Race for the Crown. If you haven't seen it, they went deep dive behind the scenes with all different people in horse racing, including jockeys. Brian Hernandez is one of them. Last year, Brian won the Derby. He also won the Oaks, which happens the day before, which was a massive feat, a huge deal. But my backstory with Brian is the day after that Kentucky Derby, when he won on Mystic Dan, my dad and I took my dad to the race. So fun. We were walking in the barns because we had an opportunity to join a friend to go for a little tour there. And like I said, we both love being there in the mornings. And so we were walking by one of the shed rows, one of the barn areas, and it was trainer Kenny McPeak, who trains Mystic Dan. And we saw a big gaggle of people over there. And my dad's like, look, it's Brian Hernandez. So Brian had come back early in the morning just to see the horse, to see the trainer, to chat, I guess, assumingly about the big victory. And I was like, this is so awesome. And people were taking pictures of him, and he had the front page of the paper that showed his Derby win, and they were snapping photos. And I asked him if he would answer a few questions. And the question that I loved so much was when I asked Brian what people didn't know about the racehorse. And Brian was like, oh, he's some version of, he's a really cool customer. And he said, he just really understood the moment. And I love that so much because I have heard that phrase so many times covering different sports. And I know that that's key, whether it's LeBron James hitting the basket because the basket at that point looks like a massive hula hoop to him. It's huge. Or a horse barreling down the racetrack. So I wanted to know more about that. And flash forward to Brian being cool enough this year to sit down with me along with his wife, Jamie, because what I also love is understanding not just the sports X's and O's of what his job as a jockey is like, but what that's like for them. They've got 3 kids, they live on a farm, and I did not expect for them to share some of the perspective that they did. I loved hearing what he said is the thing that no one tells you. I hope you enjoy this episode. All right, so things no one tells you about the hectic life of a jockey, right? But we should start. So Brian and Jamie, thank you guys so much for joining. Not like you have anything going on this weekend. Tell me, we're outside the jocks room. Can I just start there? And can you just tell me exactly what goes on inside the jocks room, Brian, for folks that haven't maybe been around horse racing a lot?
It's the only sport where guys that compete against each other, they go back into the same locker room. So you have to have the respect for the guy that you sit next to every day, because at the end of the day, you have to look at it as we're out there competing against each other. But that guy's life is in your hands and your life is in his hands, because we're out there racing in close quarters. So you have to have that mutual respect for one another and just go out there and trust that that guy next to you is going to make good decisions. So when we come back into the jocks room here, like I said, you just have to have respect for one another. And it's more of camaraderie and friendship.
And it's the place where what happens, would you say? Like what goes on here that you have
just, we come in here between each race and we change our silks, and we have valets and guys that take care of all our equipment, and we have to turn around and check our weight, make sure our weight's correct. And then they turn around and saddle the next horses, and it's all done within 20, 25 minutes between each race.
It's just a fascinating routine, isn't it?
Fast paced, right?
Yeah. Why are you laughing?
It just seems it's probably to the outside, it's like, wow, that's a lot that happens, but it's a routine and they do it there's 10 races a day, 10 times a day. So,
yeah. And to Brian's point, that it's like a locker room where you're in there against all of your competitors, with all of your competitors, right?
They probably always don't love each other, but they do have a mutual respect, I think, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. What do you think? What has it been like returning to Churchill Downs after being the winning Kentucky Derby jockey?
It's been fun. I don't think, like, with horse racing, we're just always on go, go, go. So we never really got to sink in and really let it set in that, hey, we won the Kentucky Derby. And then coming back this week with Derby week and all the fans here coming on the backside and stuff like that, and people recognizing us and knowing who you are after winning the Kentucky Derby, I think this week is when it's finally kind of set in that what a magical weekend we had last year.
Have you seen that, Jamie?
And it's nonstop.
Tell me.
His phone doesn't stop. Yeah, it's really great though. I think I
like
love
texting or what? Like
texting,
what?
Just the phone calls, interviews,
TV.
I think I love when like little kids come up. We were at an event the other night and a little kid, come up and have your autographed, and he saved last year's program and like came up.
Oh my gosh.
And I just think those moments are so cool. But you get that a lot. Like there's a lot of young fans. I think you even had somebody at the kids' school yesterday, a little boy come running up, and obviously like, people at the school know that he's a jockey and he won, but this one little boy came up and he's like, could you sign this for me? And I love that because
like this weekend.
Yeah.
What's that like for you?
It's great. I think it just makes you realize that people have noticed the accomplishment that we had, and it just makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so for people that aren't aware, not only did you win the Kentucky Derby, obviously the marquee race of the weekend last year, but you also won the Kentucky Oaks, and you were the first jockey to do that since 1952.
first jockey and trainer to do it together since
Yeah.
1952.
But no, I mean, to do that. And I loved watching the Netflix show, right? Race for the Crown, when you guys were talking just about the moment after and taking the time to let it sink in, and how you wouldn't let yourself be in that space. But then once you won and you went there and it started to hit you, what has that year been like after? Has it?
It's just been almost a whirlwind, really, to even now, I'll go out there to the Derby Winter Circle and just kind of soak it all in, remembering that what a magical weekend it was for Mystic Dan to be able to pull it off for us. And I've been quoted as saying, I would never step into the Derby Winter Circle, even though riding here for 20 years. I'd never step in there until we actually were able to win the Derby. And to be able to do it last year and walking up those steps, that was like, I think that was the pinnacle of horse racing, just to be able to be on that podium and see the crowd. Once you get out there in the infield and you see how massive this crowd is here at Derby Day, it's something you'll never forget.
What does that symbolize to you when you're in it? Or like what actually goes through your mind for both of you when you're taking that in?
I don't know. It was so emotional. Brian, when we were walking up to the podium, I thought he was going to pass out. I thought he needed water. And I'm like, can somebody give me some water? Like, I think he's going to pass out. And he just got really emotional. And I'm like, are you okay? Do you want some water? And he was like, no. He's like, I want to soak this moment in. And he like looked up, he's like, we won the Kentucky Derby. And for him to like pause and actually like take that moment, it was really special. I don't feel like I was taking it all in until that moment. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we won the Derby. Like, that's amazing.
I think one of the coolest scenes from the Netflix episode was they had Jamie on camera and she's hugging one of her friends, jumping up and down, and she just goes, I'm just so happy right now.
Oh, that was from Oaks. But on Derby, I was saying today to his grandparents, I'm like, I was so grateful. Like, you don't know what's going to happen, like come out on the Netflix show. Like, who knows? Like, they could only use a small portion of what they filmed or whatnot. And then there was a special moment, like after he won the Derby, they weren't even filming us, but somehow they got the footage of I was hugging his dad and his mom. And, we didn't get to see that. We lived that moment.
Yeah.
But like, it seemed like it all happened so fast. Like, I don't even remember that happening. So then to be able to see that, I just thought that was so special.
That's wild. I did an interview at a conference with two Olympic swimmers who were sisters, and one of them had won a medal at the Olympics, and they pulled up the highlight of her swim, and she was like, I actually haven't gotten to see this. And it was a very similar response that she had, and everyone in that room watched her, and she was like, I'm sorry. It's just, and I think people on the, who aren't professional athletes, who don't, live in this space, it's like, you don't think about the fact that you just keep going.
Yeah.
Right. And so that, like, to me, my eyes have really been open to that too, just how in this job, in this sport, like, you're never stopping. Like, sure, you can celebrate, but then you're on to the next thing. And like, Jamie, when you're describing what that routine is of however many races you're doing. So how would you describe the hectic life? Like, what?
It's, fortunately for me, I have Jamie in my corner. She's home taking care of the kids most of the time, because I live a hectic lifestyle. With being a rider, you're always on the go. You never stop. We're here Derby week, and in 2 weeks we're going to be Baltimore for Preakness, and then in the wintertime I leave and I go to New Orleans for the whole winter, and I'm there from the end of November till the end of March, and come home every once in a while. But she's in charge of the kids, and she bounces them around between school and baseball and everything else. And like, we did a Race for Grace thing the other night, a fundraiser, and like I told the crowd, I was like, if it wasn't having Jamie in my corner, we wouldn't be a quarter of as successful as I've been. And it's been a huge help, because it makes it simple when after a long day of the races, you're able to go home and she's there and she understands that, hey, I got to get back up tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. She's got everything handled.
Somewhat, I try. I'm a little bit of a hot mess express, I say sometimes.
No, you're not. I don't believe that.
I really am, but I'm just, I mean, it is what it is. I feel like some of those little details don't really matter. I'm like, oh, it's okay. You guys didn't brush your hair today. No big deal. We're surviving.
Right.
But,
right. It is like, and we talked a little bit, but I do the same thing. It's like, oh, my child is at school and your pants are 3 inches too short.
Yes, like those little details for me, we just try to cherish and be like present for those moments. And, like, our kids weren't here for Derby. They were here for Oaks, and Oaks is so special. But I mean, like, you wouldn't even imagine that he was going to win the Derby. Like, would never want my kids to miss the Derby. And I will say, I was so, I was happy and proud of him. But in the moment, like, he didn't forget about them. Like, he said hi to them on the cameras. And,
Yes.
they showed that on the thing. And like, that just still makes me tear up because even before the show, Netflix, The Race for the Crown came out, I had went back and watched those, the NBC footage, and he was waving and saying hi to them. And I'm like, that's what it's about. It's our family. The kids are watching. They are still there. So yeah, it's a big deal for me.
What is their take on what Dad does for a living?
They enjoy
love
it.
it.
Yeah, they enjoy it.
They know. And they've been doing it since they were little. So
they understand the whole concept of it now. They ask every day what horse we're riding in the Derby, and they know.
It is kind of sad though. I mean, tell them what Ben said about winning if we want to win the Derby again.
You got to come up with a good strategy.
No, so my son literally said to him a few weeks ago, we were talking about the Derby. It was right after the Bluegrass, and he won, and we said we qualified for Kentucky Derby again, and he got kind of emotional, and he was like, Dad, I don't want you to win the Derby again. And we were like, well, why wouldn't you want him to win the Derby? That's like the highlight of a jockey's career. And he's like, well, Dad, you were gone so much after Derby. It was like a heartbreaker. He was like, you traveled all year. You were never home. And for me, like, it was heartbreaking. And Brian got really emotional about it because it's sad. Like, he, sacrifices so much to be gone. But like, when your son or your kid tells you that, you're not here, like, it's heartbreaking, but it's like, this is his career, and, he's doing it for them. So.
Of course. And
it's sad, but it's like,
no,
like, you have to explain to him because they're like, kids, they don't understand. They understand, but they don't understand. They get
and he's how old?
He's 8.
Yeah. No, right. And you're like on the other side of it. There's so much. And by the way, we should just mention, is that a headshot going on? There was a jockey headshot.
For Derby.
I love it. Okay. So we're going to just see a parade. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, it's like, of course, your right mind knows this is amazing. Not only everything that we're giving them, but also just like this, what they're seeing and the values that they're learning from both of you is like incredible. But I get it. I mean, like, our children have slept in our bed with us the past 6 nights. And the reason is my husband works on a morning show and he has to leave at 4:30 in the morning. Yeah. And they have that sense of like, it's not stable. I mean, it's stable because you make it stable. They know that, but it's still, there's a sense of they
miss you at times. Like, when can they get that bonding time?
Yeah.
And
so how do you, I know you say you're Hot Mess Express, but how do you do it? She's not Hot Mess Express.
I know that for sure. I don't know how she does it.
I don't
When
know.
I'm home, sometimes I'm like, how do you keep track of all this? Between the
I did literally
baseball schedules,
try to like cut it down, but like then
else. I'm like, how do you do this?
I feel like I grew up where my parents were working the same as like his parents, and I didn't get to do a ton of the sports stuff because they're like, we have to work. Like they couldn't take us to sports. So like with our kids, I like want to make sure that they get to do everything they want to do. Whether it's sports or whatnot. I will say, like, I'm trying to like get it to where, tone it down to where they're like in one sport. Like, but my son's playing, he's basketball second season. He's on a soccer team. He's on a baseball team. And he shows horses. Why? Like, why so many things? My daughter, she's on a softball team. She shows horses competitively and is super competitive. It's nonstop. Like, every weekend she could have a horse show. And I'm like, we don't really have time. And then my youngest is so neglected that she wants to do gymnastics and she wants to do stuff. And she's been asking me for probably 2 years. And I'm like, I'm going to sign you up, I swear.
You're good.
You're fine. Like, just go to these events. Like, we have all this to do. I just don't know when I'm going to have time to sign her up. And I keep saying, I really got to get her into gymnastics. But I'm like, I don't know when I have an hour in my day to drive her to gymnastics.
So during this swath of time when Brian's gone from winter until March, how do they, I guess, I don't want to say like, how do you fill that void, but you're coming back in, but like, what types of things do you do to just keep it the close-knit family that you are,
We stay so busy. I mean, the kids stay in their same routine. They have a bedtime. They're in bed at 8 o'clock. you know, they have school, we stay busy. But we do take a lot of trips to New Orleans. We try. He comes home. I just like to keep a good routine. I think a bedtime is really important. 8 o'clock, they got to be in bed, because if not, they cannot function with everything happening in life. Other than that, I think we try to keep it really normal. I mean, they FaceTime. I mean, that's the benefits of technology now. So
yeah, luckily.
And our daughter has a phone, so
we try to stay in contact as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's just, it gets tough when you're gone, especially when I'm sitting down there by myself in New Orleans after work, and you get home at night and you're just sitting around the house, and knowing Jamie and the kids are back home, and come about February, it's like, okay, I'm ready to get out of here. It's time to get back home. This is a little too quiet.
And then the re-entry must be interesting also.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm like,
you know?
I'm like, he needs to tell me, you need to be kind. I'm like, you're temper, like, you don't have a temper or snap at them. You haven't been here for 4 months.
I'll come back after 3 months, and like back when you're by yourself, you know, the house is clean and everything else, but you walk back into the tornado den and she's like,
we live on a farm, mind you.
The kids and the dogs running everywhere. It's like, oh man.
And 15 horses, 5 dogs, 5 cats. They don't all live in the house, mind you. But, you know, it's a high traffic house. And he's like, I cannot live like this. And I'm like, well, I guess you're going to have to go back to New Orleans.
Speaking my language.
Yeah.
Yep. No.
I'm like, I'm surviving. I have dinner cooked. Your kids are fed. They're growing. They're healthy. They go to sports. And you can't live like this. Shame on you.
I find that sometimes when my husband's feeling that way, I will find a random piece of new art that's hung somewhere in the house, and he's like, we've just got to get more art on the walls. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just like, that's sort of how it manifests for him, like wanting organization, because I'm
I would love organization.
It would be great. Okay, so I am curious how you handle the day-to-day, like not only the needs, but the requirements of your job and just all that stuff, including pressure. Like what is your process and your routine for?
I guess over the years you learn to manage it. Like, you know, when we're here at the racetrack every day, you're focusing in on your job. But then I've learned, especially since we've had kids now, I've learned that once you walk away from it and you get to the house, don't bring work home with you. Don't worry about, you could have had a great day and, you know, we'll celebrate it at home. But a lot of days are rough, you know, when you're competing at a game that hot, if you're winning at 15%, that's considered successful. So there's going to be a lot more long days than there are good days. So I've just learned to not bring it home with us. You know, once the day's over, we'll kind of go home and enjoy the kids and Jamie, and then get up at 4:30 the next morning. We'll start all over again and try back at it.
Can you describe what that process is that you touched on about you come in here between races?
Yeah, you just come in. You luckily we have a guy that works for us, and he has everything set up for me, like all my tack and all my equipment and everything. And all I have to do is come in and change and get ready for the first race and go out there. You ride the first race, you come back, and he has everything cleaned up once again, and I change and do it all over again. And in our case, like my valet here, he's got 4 other riders as well. So he's got to stay on top of that. And he's got a sheet there where it shows all the races we ride all day long. And he makes sure all the helmets and saddles are all in the right places. And just, he's kind of the backbone, but behind the scene guy that makes sure everything's organized and taken care of. And then it makes our job easy, where all we have to do is focus on racing and ride. I guess he's almost like the wife at home.
Yeah, I was going to say, so they've been together for how?
21 years.
Yeah, like these are guys that he chooses to work for him.
Yeah.
So this is like a really good relationship. Like, you know, he's been there as long as Brian's agent, and like coming in here, he's very comfortable. You know, Shane has, whether it's things that they like or he knows them from top to bottom, all of his jockeys, and, you know, especially Brian, but they're friends, but like, he knows Brian's quirks, and he makes his day. Well, that's a big list.
Okay.
But he makes life easy for Brian. Like, you know, he doesn't have to worry about anything. He comes in here and, you know, reminds him to do this, has this ready. So
I think that it also takes a very unique person / skill set to really thrive in that. Like, the people that can work well with the systems like that in place and who nail it, I think, are the ones that are most successful. That's a gift.
And that's what makes you so successful as well. It's like you said, that you have those people behind you. Like I have Shane Burrell, my valet, and then Frank Bernice, my agent.
And a valet, real quick, for people that don't know, is
he's the guy. He takes care of all of our equipment, and he's like our personal helper.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brian's dad is actually his valet in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So
that's
when
nice.
we go back to New Orleans, Dad works
which
for
is
us, and the
awesome.
jocks from there.
So he has Shane here, and then he has his dad in New Orleans. So
okay.
And then we have our agent that works for us on the backside. He does all the he handles all the trainers and makes sure we have all our mounts lined out and everything else. And we've been with him 14 years, and
yeah, longer than we've been
we like
married,
to keep things simple and keep it all kind of the same. It makes things a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
And then so that's you getting ready for a race. Part of that process you said is weighing in.
Yes.
Can you explain that? A lot of people have questions about that because they're not sure about how it works.
Yeah, because like in the Kentucky Derby, for example, we have to weigh 100, and you have to your horse has to carry 126 pounds. And like myself, I'll weigh 115 pounds. So we go in to weigh in before a race, you have your saddle, and then you're gonna have to put some lead weights in the pockets of the saddle. So you'll put 3 or 4 pounds of lead weights, and then all your vest and your helmet and stuff like that, and your silks. And then the valet, he has to make sure that that's gonna be correct when you step on the scale for the clerk.
What's the hardest part about having to maintain a certain weight?
I'm
have to work at it?
fortunate enough to where I don't really have to worry about it. But you see guys that, they have to hit the hot box every day, and they have to kind of consistently stay on it. Fortunately enough in my case, I kind of just maintain, watch what you eat, and just kind of on the dark days are the days you can kind of take it easy. But other than that, it's kind of a strict normal diet that we just kind of hold on to and keep it rolling.
For you, Jamie, on a race day, when is the time that you start to feel whatever it is that you feel before the race?
I don't have a ton of nerves on normal race days. I think because the Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby are of that caliber, those make me extremely nervous. Or, for example, like he's been riding the Torpedo Anna since last year's, or before last year's Oaks even. And now that she's gotten to where she's gotten in her career, bigger races make me nervous. But it's like the butterflies right before, like as they're going into the gate. And it's not so much like for if he's winning, it's like, I'm just hoping that he gets a clean race, a safe race, per se. Like for the craziest reasons, like I envision bad things happening. I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't fall out of the gate. And that has happened. Like he won the Breeders' Cup the one year, and the very first race back on his horse, it fell out of the gates and he fell off, and the horse win without him. And I'm like,
the horse finished with it.
Yeah, finished the race without him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that just happened. So like,
finish the race where?
He just
ran the track.
Yeah,
where did he end up? Just not.
They ended up catching him on the backside.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So like he literally just outran everybody without Brian, and Brian was just standing at the gates like, oh my gosh, like he just cut a flip, and like those things happen. So I feel like that's the part of it that makes me the most nervous, because like I've been there, he's fallen, he does all that. Like I just want for like a clean trip. And at the end of the day, that nothing else, like I can't control anything else, nor can, he has some control over things, but got to have the horse and the luck and all of that stuff. So
what's it like the moment that you're waiting for those gates to open?
That's kind of like the key thing. You're just looking down the track, and if you want your horse focusing down the racetrack, because a lot of races are won and lost in those first couple of steps away from the gate. So you want the horse to be standing in there good and making sure he's standing on the racetrack, because if they get in there and they start fidgeting around and stuff like that, and then you miss the break just a little, especially in big races, if you miss the break just a little, it can cost everything, because you're running against horses that are at as good as yours and at that level. So it's hard to make those little bitty mistakes and overcome them. So you want to just have them focusing and looking down the track.
How about when you're coming down that final stretch? I think I asked you this because I remember talking to you the morning after the Derby last year, and it blew me away with the way that you were describing Mystic Dan. But what is that like? I think that was one of the questions actually my kids had. They were like, what's it like to ride on a horse when it's that fast, right? But
it's probably one of the most adrenaline things you can do. Like when you turn for home and that horse is really, really running and he's got a really good chance of winning. It's a feeling that you can't really bottle up and explain. It's just something that once you feel it, it's like, wow, I want to keep doing that. And I think that's the case for all jockeys, is once you win a race, it's like, I just want to keep doing it. And you kind of block out the things like falling and stuff like that. And you never even think about it just because you want that thrill of winning again.
Mm-hmm. What's the most exciting part for you?
Of him winning or just the race in general?
Yeah, in general.
Probably when he's winning a big race. That makes me happy, excited. I like watching the kids. I like watching their celebrations at this point. I feel like I used to celebrate a lot harder, and I now, like last year when all that was happening, I was just in a state of shock. I was like, oh my gosh, is this happening? Like, these are things you dream about. You know, I dream about him crossing the finish line first, and I'm like, did that just happen? I mean, I don't even think I yelled. I just was like, oh my gosh. I really enjoy watching the kids now, you know, seeing it through their eyes and winning. My daughter, she's loud like me, and she gets to yelling. And sometimes I'm like, stop yelling so loud. And I'm like, oh, she's taking after me. It's okay.
I love it. You said last year, Mystic Dan, I remember you described him as a cool customer, but you said, this is what I love so much. This actually carried me through a lot of other interviews last year. So thank you. Because when you said to me, you know, he just understood the moment. And I was like, damn, like that is cool. Like a horse, just like an athlete. That's what so many people say, understanding the moment. A horse can understand. Like, was it really the horse partially understanding the moment, or was it you doing what you do?
No, he understood the moment. Like, once you do this for so long and you've been around horses a while, you can see it kind of in their eyes and in their demeanor. And like last year we got in the Derby, and you know, we got 150,000 people singing My Old Kentucky Home, and his ears perked up, but it didn't faze him at all. He was like, whoa, this is good. But then really, like, going to the gate, he was kind of bouncing around a little bit. But then as we were walking into the gate, he picked his head up, and he was like you can sense that he knew what was going on, and he knew this was a big stage. And then he showed it when he ran, just the way he left the gate and did it. Everything, it was almost like it was meant to be, because in races like the Kentucky Derby, 90% of the time, not everything goes perfectly. And in that race, it did. And that had a testament to do with Mystic Dan as well, because like I said, he understood the moment. He understood what a big event this was.
And the relationship also that I love between you and Kenny McPeak, the trainer, who you guys have been working together for so long.
That's what's made it. That's what I believe. That's why we've had so much success as well. It's just because it's so natural. Like, he goes out there, he doesn't tell me how to ride them, and in the morning times, you know, everybody's just there doing their job and just kind of keeping it as simple as possible. And that's kind of been the key to our success, is just keeping things simple and keeping it cruising along.
How often do you ask Jamie for advice? Because
she's
a trainer yourself.
She's actually one of the greatest. You know, we'll talk about races before, but if I go out there and ride a bad race, before I can get off the horse, my phone's blowing up.
Him. I'm
the phone's
can
blowing
I
up.
like not text him, or should I text him? I'm like, you know what? I gotta text him because I just can't live with myself right now.
90% of the time, she's right. She'll send me something, and I'll watch the replay. I'm like, God.
She's like,
right.
I hate when she's
offer? Yeah. You're like,
no, it's just like I don't know. I don't even know.
Be like, well, that was a horrible ride, and then I'll watch the replay, and I'm like, yeah, she's right, but
I'm like, why? Just why?
Oh my
God. Sometimes I'm like, go forward.
But if it wasn't for her in some of those spots, you know, it makes you, it's that extra help, because then it makes you sit back and think about it, and you're like, you know what? She was right. We need to do something different. And it's always great to have a second person.
We can talk like that.
Love it.
He would be mad if I didn't ever work in horses, or like know or can like watch a race. I can hold my own in the watching the race category. I'm not gonna tell you how to ride, because I don't ride near ever as good as you have. But I'm also like, when I'm watching the race, sometimes I'm like, okay, Brian, today's a big day. We need to win some races.
I love it, right? And then I'm sure there's like gold in some of the stuff, right?
I feel like it's good banter. Like, he knows it's like harmless too. Or there's sometimes he's like, nope, you're wrong today. Sorry, that's not how I see it. And I'm like, okay, you're right. Maybe I text you too soon.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, people have written in with a couple questions that I would love to ask you, and then we're going to get you off on your way because you have races today.
Sounds good.
Okay. I love this. Biggest superstition. Are you superstitious?
Not really. Try not to think about that a whole lot. No.
Okay. Are you?
Not. No. I feel like the only thing, one of our girlfriends who was riding with us to the track today, they asked this exact question. And I'm like, no, not really. The only thing I hate is like if we're watching a race with somebody and they're standing next to you and like, let's say he's in front.
Yep.
And then they're like, he's winning. He's a winner. And I'm like, no, that's jinxing. Like, don't say that. Like, he didn't cross the line yet. Like, anything can happen.
Yes.
So that's probably like the only thing on my end. I'm like, you can't say that until we like cross the line.
So just not talking at certain points.
Well, just not saying he's a winner, because I'm like, there's just so many things that could happen from halfway down the stretch to the wire.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Or like not.
I feel like that kind of jinxes us. But other than that, I don't have any superstitions.
Like not walking into the winner's circle.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah,
that
but
was-
like,
No.
that's
okay.
more of just like,
You really wouldn't
just-
do that.
yeah,
though.
just-
exactly.
That's kind of like-
respect of like, it's more of the respect of the Derby winner circle that you don't want to be there unless you
You've
belong
won.
there.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Do any of the horses you ride ever make you nervous? I like that question a lot because I just get curious. I mean,
Sometimes you'll get on horses that you've never been on before, especially young horses that you've never seen before. So you kind of go into it a little more cautiously than you would if you know the horse and been riding it, because you don't know their tendencies and what to expect from them. But that's probably about the only time.
okay. Are there, sorry, my glasses. This is the other thing that's happened to me. I have like 5 pairs of readers. Please ask him, how often does he get hit with another jock's stick? They're so close.
Every once in a while, but
Mhm.
like now with the way our crops are, they're really, really padded. So you'll get hit on the arm or the shoulder every once in a while, just by accident. And it'll leave like a little red mark, but nothing bad. It doesn't hurt. You kind of just go on along with it, and it's part of the job.
Yeah, well, because I think especially after watching the Netflix show, it's like people get a real view of like how
How
close
you are, yeah.
and that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, so you guys, you met in the sport, right?
Yep.
You guys both come from families that were
In racing.
in racing. I know how important the sport is to you. So now thinking back like through that lens of things no one tells you, what is something about this sport or about your experience together and journey in it that you would think it would be interesting and helpful for people to know?
Probably just the hectic lifestyle that I have to live. But then on top of that, just having the support of each other, I think, is the biggest thing. You know, being able to know that with my travel schedule and everything, she's always in the back corner. She's always there rooting for me. And it makes it a whole lot easier knowing that I have Jamie back home, and just that extra support more than anything. It's definitely, I've said it before, I wouldn't have a quarter of the success I've had if it wasn't for her.
Did you envision that this is all of this is what
No.
you would be a part of also?
No, but I'm really proud of him. So I think both us coming from small towns and small racing circuits, and then this imploding to, Brian's career now. And we've got to bring his family, my family, on the journeys with us. And again, they are coming from smaller racing circuits. I just think it's so rewarding. And, the years of work behind both of the families and getting to feel, what Brian's felt and the love and, being here and supporting, like that's why he does it and continues to do it. And, I think you've stated like, you want your legacy to be for the kids, moving forward. And I'm proud of that. So I would say like, talking to like kids watching this or something, like you can do it too. Like you work hard, you get up every morning, you follow your dreams, and good things happen. So, right?
That's it.
You guys should write a book. You
Yeah.
should do
my
a
gosh.
parenting book.
I don't know about
That's
that.
what it should. No, seriously.
Well, I mean,
I'll
I just
read
think it's so cool. Like
It's
Yeah.
it's cool. Like we both come from smaller circuits, and it's things you dream about. Like I remember as a little girl watching these big races on TV, not thinking I would ever get to be here at Churchill Downs. I live here now.
oh my gosh.
This is our home track. Like
Yeah.
what a dream.
Well,
And I think the same would go for you. Like
Yep.
you grew up at Evangeline, and it's a smaller racing circuit, and he dreamed about being here, but he made it happen, and he's here now. And
yeah. I mean, not to sound funny, but like so I started in local news and so did my husband. And our dreams
To-
were
Yeah.
to
get
do the
big.
big thing. And now my
Now you're
husband
doing
got a big,
Yeah.
right. And so, and I will tell you, I like it's so funny to me. It's like, and it's probably really simple and obvious, but like going through that when he was named as the Today Show show host in January, I was like numb. I'm in it.
Yeah.
It's massive. We know, we're so excited, but then I don't know. I'm just like, this is so crazy and
Yeah.
wonderful, but like
So
this has
whirlwind,
actually
it
happened.
Yeah.
Right.
You dream about it.
Yes.
Dream about it, and then when it happens, you're like, wow, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
But just the hard work you put into it over the years.
And then, so there was celebration, so over the moon happy. And then I remember times where he's like, I just got to do the work now. Like, I got to like, right. And it's like, okay. So then you've got that new normal too, because life changes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Definitely change. But you stay humble and you keep working and, you know, do your thing. Live
Deep
on.
thoughts.
We tell each other, people are like, oh, how is this? How's that? And I'm like, we are very normal people. Just with a busier lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know,
People probably think you're nuts, but you're like, this is
no, like we really are.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't normally get out. Like, I don't get out of farm clothes. I'm on the farm all the time. I'm like, I pick my kids up in carpool line and both truck and trailer. I'm like,
I love it.
It just is what it is.
Thank you guys. This has
Thank
been
you.
awesome.
It's been fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, I'm so appreciative for Jamie and Brian, and also love the fact that the jockeys were taking headshots behind us as we were doing that recording. But a big shout out for Churchill Downs giving us that space outside the jocks room. That was pretty cool to see. Sidebar story to share about another thing that no one tells you. Okay, so my dad, like I said, covered horse racing for years. He did so for USA Today, and one of the legends that he would always talk about that he followed closely in his day was Hall of Fame horse trainer D. Wayne Lukas. D. Wayne Lukas is 89 years old, but back in the day, he really brought the Hollywood vibe and the standard of excellence to the racetrack. In fact, a lot of people have like really followed what his standard was at the time and have adopted the way that he trains, the way that he works with assistants as part of the method that they use. Anyway, it is sort of serendipitous and really awesome to have even gotten to know him, because it was a big deal for me, just feeling this connection also to my dad, and to be able to do that has been really meaningful. So I saw him the morning before the Derby, and I asked him, as I was doing a short interview with him for America's Best Racing, I asked him at the end of that, you know, what's something that no one tells you? And he shared something that no one had ever told me about, a fun fact about him. I loved it so much. I just had to share it with you guys.
That's simple. Nobody knows I write poetry.
Really?
Yeah, in fact, they're the guys in that little. I wish I could tell you this. Luke Irwin has put one of them to music, and it'll going to be out, I think, Derby week. It's called "Out of Time." It's a poem I wrote. I wrote a number of poems. I write poetry when I'm just reflective and sitting at home. I wrote one the other day called "Unconditional Love." I wrote one to my wife. Different things.
So you're a real softie.
I am, in a lot of ways.
Wait, so
I like to do it. If I sit down and something enters my mind like that, I wrote the lyrics to that song in less than 5 minutes. It just kind of fell into place.
how long have you written poetry?
Oh, lots, years and years and years. Problem is, I don't save many of them. Now, Laurie, my wife, is starting to save them now. But
And what are most of them about? Where do you find your
life, yeah, about, I wrote on unconditional love. I don't know, the last verse is, can a simple dog teach us how to kneel and pray? I found unconditional love today. A yellow dog showed me the way. See, stuff like that.
That's good. That is awesome.
Surprise you?
That is so cool.
Yeah.
It's a bit of your escape.
Yeah.
Is that your escape?
Yeah.
That's what you do when you're not doing this.
And I don't have to be tough and, on top of everything.
I love that. Thank you so much, Mr. Lukas. I mean, are you kidding? When he recited his poetry, it was such an awesome moment. And I loved that he writes a lot of it about his wife, Laurie. So Laurie has actually shared with us some of the copies of D. Wayne's poetry. If you want to see that, just click on the link in the show notes. Really good stuff. And I love the fact that they turned one of them into a song. In closing, okay, things no one tells you. Things no one tells you about the hectic life of a jockey. I think the biggest thing that I took from the conversation overall with D. Wayne Lukas, and frankly, also with what I just shared with you about D. Wayne, is the sacrifice of time, but also the acknowledgement that sometimes it doesn't get easier and you just have to keep doing it. And I think with Brian, when he was sharing about his son not wanting him to do the Kentucky Derby again, to win the Kentucky Derby again, that is, they said it was heartbreaking. That it actually makes me feel like I could vomit, because I'm like, as a parent, you understand what that feeling is like when you're missing something, but then it comes back to what I was saying in the beginning. Like, sometimes we have so much attention that is paid to hitting the big marks, and sometimes it's just being present. So my dad always would say to me, you know what, when things are hectic, and he would say this early on when I was looking for marriage advice, you might be pulled in a million different directions between the two of you, but what matters is that when you're together, you're really making the time important. And that's it. And it's just being there, listening, not having all the devices in your hands doing the thing, but just showing up, and showing up as the real you with an open ear and an open heart. Deep Thoughts with Lindsay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really hope that you enjoyed getting a peek into the life of Derby winning jockey Brian Hernandez. And please be sure to tune in every Thursday to hear new episodes. And if you're loving this show, I would love it if you please take a minute to subscribe, also rate and review Things No One Tells You. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you back here next week. Please don't forget, follow and subscribe to Things No One Tells You. And of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave a 5-star review, because that's really what helps people get more listeners. We would love to grow this community. We are so grateful that you're a part of it. See you next time.